I still remember the first time I ever saw Street Fighter II. It was an arcade machine at a local video store that was around the corner from my house back in Brooklyn. I had never seen anything like it. It was one of those moments that you'll only experience once. I played the hell out of that machine and have been a fan of the series since. And although my feelings towards the Street Fighter series have considerably waned in recent years, nothing ever really can take away from the quality and wonder of Street Fighter II, endless revisions and all. So let's take a look at 10 facts about Street Fighter II. Capcom is notorious for re-releasing their games with small updates and a new title. Hell, the practice even has its own trope name, Capcom Sequel Stagnation. Did you think it was ridiculous when they released Super Street Fighter IV, saying that it would be the only update to the game using physical media, only then to release 3 more and there's a 4th on the way? Yeah, me too. But that's got nothing on Street Fighter II, which was updated 6 times. Yes, 6. The first was Street Fighter II Dash Championship Edition, which added mirror match support, some new moves and rebalances, and the ability to play as the 4 boss characters. The second update was Street Fighter II Dash Turbo Hyper Fighting, which gave more balances, new moves, updated the graphics, and added a lot of speed. The third update was Super Street Fighter II The New Challengers, which added 4 brand new characters and further graphical and gameplay updates, though it lost the speed of its predecessor. The fourth update was Super Street Fighter II Turbo The Ultimate Championship, which added super moves and more speed and a new secret character. The fifth update was actually originated on consoles and was later retroactively ported to the arcades. This was Hyper Street Fighter II The Anniversary Edition, which added online play and the ability to use movesets from previous versions. Finally, the sixth, the only one to be exclusive to consoles, was Super Street Fighter II Turbo HD Remix. Essentially, it takes Super Turbo and gives it a fresh coat of paint in the way of hand-drawn HD graphics by the art studio Udon. I should mention HD Remix came out in 2008, the download version at least, with the physical media version coming out in 2012 packaged with 7 other previously download-only games. For comparison, the original version of Street Fighter II came out in 1991. Street Fighter II is a game continually updated over a period of 22 years. Capcom says they're done with it, but really, do we have any reason to believe that? This one is so common, I'm willing to bet something like 95% of you already know this, but hell, it's worth mentioning for the 5% that may not know it, even if this is probably like my 7th time talking about it. Yes, the boss names. In Japan, the boxer is Mike Bison, the Spanish ninja is Balrog, and the last boss is Vega. Capcom was uneasy about having a character named Mike Bison who is a boxer, lest they be sued by real-life boxer Mike Tyson, especially since the character was inspired by the real-life boxer. So he became Balrog, Balrog became Vega, and Vega became M. Bison. What the M stands for is left purposefully ambiguous. According to the games and the related media, it could be Master, Mighty, Major, or whatever else happens to start with M. Although Street Fighter II is a sequel and had 12 characters, later 17, the grand total of characters carried over from the original roster of 12 characters from Street Fighter was 3, Ryu, Ken, and Sagat. The original game was very unpopular, and characters from it have been used sparingly over the years. One character that is questionable, though, is Balrog. As I already mentioned, he's called Mike Bison in Japan. Capcom flip-flops constantly on whether or not he's the same character as Mike from Street Fighter, who has a similar look and fighting style and a practically identical backstory. Whether or not Mike and Mike Balrog, aka Mike Bison, are one and the same, depends on who at Capcom you speak to, and when, and probably what they had for lunch that day. While Akuma first appeared in Super Turbo, he was not actually named within the game. We know he's Akuma, and in Japan he's Goki. But in Super Turbo he actually had no name, either in his secret boss incarnation or his playable incarnation. He didn't have his name displayed under the life bar, and even his facial portrait was blacked out, which is amusing, as if you're fighting him, or playing as him, you clearly have a good idea what he looks like. Interestingly, as he's named Goki in Japan, his American name is not even a name at all, but rather a generic Japanese word that means devil or demon. Well, maybe his mom really named him that. It'd explain why he's such an insufferable dick. Speaking of Akuma, or Goki, or whatever, he's perhaps the first video game character based on a hoax. And yes, I realize I've talked about this before as well, but yeah, I'm talking about it again. Deal with it. Akuma is based off of the hoax character Sheng Long, who is a fabrication of EGM who faked the character as an April Fool's gag. They claim that to face him, you had to get to M. Bison without taking any damage, and then have 10 draw rounds with him where you neither take nor deal out any damage, letting the clock run out. Then, Sheng Long would appear and challenge you. A shocking amount of people fell for this nonsense, which, I mean, could it be more obviously a joke? The fabricated screenshots and story appeared in EGM on the same page as a segment announcing a contest to spot the April Fool's joke in the issue. People trying to unlock Sheng Long made the game even more popular, especially fueled by liars who would spread false rumors of seeing Sheng Long or outright false boasts of doing it themselves. Akuma was added to the game with circumstances pretty similar to the EGM story. Though getting to him was a challenge, it was significantly more possible than EGM's ridiculous criteria. The fighting style used by Ryu, Ken, and Akuma, and later some other characters, is usually referred to as Shotokan, and characters that mimic this style, whether in Street Fighter games or other games, are referred to as Shoto clones. However, this is actually an error, as the style bears no resemblance to actual Shotokan, and is referred to in the games only as an unnamed variant of karate. Sometimes the style is referred to as Ansatsuken, though this is not the name of a specific martial art, but rather a blanket term used to describe any fighting style specifically used for assassinations, the focus being on lethality. Ken and Ryu use the non-deadly Void variant, while Akuma uses the more lethal Heaven variety. So technically, since Ryu or Ken aren't attempting to kill anyone, their style can't even be accurately described as Ansatsuken. So yeah, just call it karate. Street Fighter II is actually not a traditional arcade game. Traditionally, an arcade system has proprietary hardware for each game. The game and the system are an integrated unit. However, some arcade systems are used to play multiple games, such as the famous Neo Geo hardware, which used cartridges inside of the arcade board rather than integrated circuit boards. Street Fighter II is similar. The actual game is on a removable ROM cartridge. The system it runs on is called the CP system, which had 3 iterations, CPS-1, CPS-2, and CPS-3, and there was an enhanced version of CPS-1 known as the CP System Dash. Street Fighter II was the 14th of the 27 CPS-1 games. Championship Edition was the 19th, Turbo was the 23rd. Super Street Fighter II was the first game to use the CPS-2 hardware, and Super Turbo was the 4th. Hyper Street Fighter II was the very last CPS-2 game. The CPS-3 system included only 6 games, half of them being iterations of Street Fighter III. Capcom stopped using the CP system completely in 1999. Street Fighter II's obvious quality over previous fighting games, including the original Street Fighter, obviously made it a smash hit. But the feature that gave the game its charm and longevity and influenced nearly every other fighting game after it was not a feature at all, but a bug. I'm talking about the combo system, where one move's animation can be interrupted by another move, allowing the player to chain normal and special moves together. And if done properly, once the first hit connected, the opponent would be unable to block the following hits until the combo was finished. Yeah, that was not intended to be in the game at all, which was to play more like the first game, one hit at a time. The bug was discovered during QA and left in because Capcom felt it was too difficult for players to pull off regularly, and was therefore not worth fixing. Obviously, they were very, very wrong. Players embraced combos as if they were part of the game, and as of Super Street Fighter II, they were, as the game kept track of combos and displayed how many hits you did, as well as giving you a score bonus for them. You know, for the 7 people who give a shit about the score. Believe it or not, Championship Edition was intended to be the only update to the game, addressing specific player requests for mirror matches and being able to play as boss characters. However, after Championship Edition proved that updating the game could be profitable, Capcom faced a real problem. Bootleg versions of the game were popping up everywhere, including ones with advanced features such as being able to perform special moves in midair and a lot of added speed. Perhaps the most well-known bootleg clone was Street Fighter II Rainbow Edition, which attracted so much attention and money that Capcom integrated many of its features into Street Fighter II Turbo. Though the oddest feature, the ability to switch characters at will with the start button, was obviously left out. Street Fighter has been made into a movie 3 times. The Japanese anime Street Fighter II, and the American movies Street Fighter and Street Fighter The Legend of Chun-Li. Yeah, none of these were really great, though at least the anime one was watchable. However, the first time characters from Street Fighter II appeared in a motion picture was in a 1993 Chinese action comedy, City Hunter, which was based on a Japanese manga and starred Jackie Chan. Chan's character Ryo mimics the moves of pop culture characters, like Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. At one point, he's knocked into a Street Fighter II arcade machine and gets an electric shock. And then he thinks his opponent is Ken. He tries fighting as E Honda and Dalsum, but he loses. Then he switches to Chun-Li to win. Allow me to spell it out. Jackie Chan is not playing the game, he's playing the characters. Jackie Chan dressed as Chun-Li. Clearly proof that he could do whatever the hell he wants.